Hey, everybody. So this is a continuation to see just how far the judicial branch is going to allow the Trump administration to push with his executive orders, many of which have already been basically deemed unconstitutional by some federal judges. The latest one involves the office or the head of the Office of Special Counsel, Hampton Dellinger, which is a position in an office that basically they oversee and make sure that there's no corruption within the federal government. They're there to protect employees as well as whistleblowers within the federal government. So it's an office and a position that's created by Congress back in 1978. It's an independent, nonpartisan federal agency. So they're not there to have allegiance to either a Democrat or Republican. It's a nonpartisan agency in a nonpartisan position. So, so long story short, Mr. Dellinger was fired by the Trump administration in a simple email, not saying why he was dismissed, just saying that he is being fired and terminated from his position. Problem is his position is an appointed position for, I believe, 7 years, and he was only in his second year. And the law that Congress created says that he can only be fired by the president, and if he neglects his job or malfeasance or some other serious offense. None of which occurred in the case here. It was merely just a political firing, but there's reasons that go back to why he was fired. So when you go back and you peel back the reasons why. So everybody remembers the mass layoffs that first started occurring within the Trump administration via executive order, where they just basically laid off thousands, tens of thousands of federal employees, primarily the ones that were supposedly on probationary status. So Mr. Dellinger's office, there was a complaint filed with his office stating that some of the federal agencies had violated federal law whenever they terminated these probationary employees. So he took the complaint and he was able to get a reversal of some of these probationary employees that were terminated, and got a 45-day stay granted for those federal employees. So basically, they were on probationary status, they had limited protections, but his office was able to get them reinstated. So that's key, because it means that there was this watchdog agency that's in place to do exactly what they did: protect federal employees, prevent corruption within the federal government, and to protect whistleblowers. They did their job. Well, the Trump administration doesn't like that. They want to remove anybody that is a barrier to getting in their way to doing what they want. And that's the bottom line. His office did his job. They got those probationary employees, a few of them, reinstated back into their positions. And that's a problem for the Trump administration. Everybody knows that anybody that says no or goes against the grain within the Trump administration or within the federal government, that they immediately seek to remove them. And that's exactly what they did with Mr. Dellinger's position. So what does this mean for other federal employees? What does this mean for Indian country? Well, one of the departments that was named in the suit to the Office of Special Counsel was the Department of Education. So we all know that there was 30% of the workforce at Haskell Indian Nations University were laid off. Supposedly a large majority of them were probationary employees. Does that mean that it's possible that these employees with Haskell Indian Nations that were terminated from their positions, that were on probationary status, could file a claim with the Office of Special Counsel and possibly get some of these positions reinstated? It's possible. You never know until you try. So there was an advocacy group and a law firm that represented those employees that Mr. Dellinger's office was able to get reinstated. So that's something that the employees, if you're a family or your friends with some of the people that were terminated and let go at Haskell Indian Nations University. You may want to check that out. Some of the other employees that were terminated and reinstated were employees in the Veterans Affairs Office. They were disabled veterans. They were still in probationary status, but Mr. Dellinger's office was able to get them reinstated. So there are some protections in place. They're limited, but once again, and I'm going to continue to say this, the Trump administration, when you look at what he's doing with the Department of Defense by getting the SecDef, Pete Smith, confirmed, he's in there solely to dismantle and get rid of anybody who is going to oppose the Trump administration. He just removed the Joint Chief of Staff, extremely qualified, and he replaced him with a 3-star general who has half the qualifications and half the abilities to do that job. Why? Because that person that they replaced him with is a Donald Trump supporter, plain and simple. You look at what they're doing to General Milley, where Hedgesmith has issued an order to remove the security detail for General Milley. He's also trying to do some other things to this highly decorated general that had served in the highest position for the Department of Defense. They are trying to get rid of anybody that will get in their way, and they are extremely vengeful in doing so. So we're going to see where this goes, and you may recall that this is the case where the Trump administration fast-tracked to the Supreme Court, and it was a temporary restraining order that was issued by the U.S. Washington, D.C. Court, Judge Amy Jackson, and the Trump administration fast-tracked it to the Supreme Court, which they shouldn't even have acknowledged it because it was just a TRO, and normally those are not appealable cases, but they took it anyway, and it went there, and they basically punted it and sent it back to Judge Jackson, where she issued an extended stay until March 1st, I believe, so that she can have more time to look over the filings by Mr. Dellinger and also by the petition for summary judgment by the Department of Justice attorneys that are working on behalf of Donald Trump. So this is going to be a huge test for how far the judicial system is going to allow Donald Trump to go, because if Judge Jackson grants summary judgment to the Trump administration, that's going to open up the floodgates for the Trump administration to almost do whatever they want. If, however, she rules in favor of Mr. Dellinger and in support of his petition for a preliminary injunction, then that means that the rule of law, the separation of powers, the checks and balances is still somewhat in place. And I've said it before in some other of my posts that the judicial branch is literally the last line of defense in preventing Donald Trump from making himself a dictator or a self-appointed king, which I think everybody has already seen that post that he put on his social media platform, "Long live the king," or something to that effect. And they also posted something like that on the whitehouse.gov website, which is just crazy to me. But anyway, as more comes down, we'll see what happens on March 1st whenever Judge Jackson comes out with her opinion and order. If you like what you hear and see, give me a like and follow, and I'll continue to keep everybody updated. Ho ho.